Consistent self-improvement, everybody. You are now listening to American gypC Podcast. I am your host, Classic.
And I'm gypC.
And we are also have our special guest here, Miss Kymberly Nicole and Mr. Michael from Something in Common Podcast. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
So we first came across this lovely, lovely couple last year at the Great Iron Wars, which is a celebration that I'm going to get them to tell us a little bit more about. But it is held at Iron Addicts Gym by the great C.T. Fletcher.
Yes, sir.
And my first question, how did you guys first meet C.T. Fletcher?
I first was introduced to the person C.T. Fletcher maybe 10, 11 years ago. And when I say introduced, just found out who he was.
Right.
One of my best friends that I grew up with sent me a link to this YouTube video. And he was like, bro, you got to check this guy out. You got to check him out. He's crazy, talk a bunch of crap and all of that stuff. So send me this link. And it was, I can't remember the exact video, but I think it was like Penitentiary Arms or something. They were just working arms. And you got this guy and he's just loud. He's cussing and just going haywire. And I mean, he sucks you in. So that was about maybe 10 or 11 years ago. So I started following him then, and then maybe almost 5 years ago, when it was about 4 years ago, because we had just started our weight loss journey. Okay. And out of the blue one day, he starts following me on Instagram. I had before that other than liking his post and everything, I had no contact with him. And he started following me on Instagram, and he would start commenting on our weight loss videos and all of that stuff. And from there, we just kind of struck up like an online friendship. And maybe 3 years ago, about 3 years ago, he invited me to come out and train at the gym. And, well, Samson did, because me and Samson started talking. And then Samson when they started doing the father and son training program, he just was like, man, you got to come out and train. So we came out and we trained, and I didn't know CT was going to be there that day. So that was kind of, when we were done working out, he was like, I got a surprise for you. And then CT comes in. So about 3 years, we just been friends ever since. And then it just kind of blossomed into this thing. And honestly, I can't even tell you how it blossomed into what it blossomed into. He's basically to this point become like a second dad to Kim. Like, I think their relationship is closer to me and his is at this point. Yeah. So her father passed away a couple of years ago, actually 2 years ago. Last month. And from that point on, like, CT really stepped in and was like really like a second dad to her. And and their relationship is
it's way different.
It's way different
than just strength training and all of that. Like, I was the epitome of daddy's girl. So when my dad passed away, I felt lost. I was in a very dark place, lost, and CT kind of stepped in and he was there. I could talk to him, he understood what I was going through having lost a parent. So it just kind of blossomed from there. So for me, it's more than just the working out and the yelling and the cussing and the CT that everybody sees. I kind of get the other side where he's just like dad.
He doesn't talk to her the way he talks to me. He's very soft and gentle with her. Yeah. My baby this, my baby that. But if I showed you me and his text thread, like he calls me every name in the book. Like, we're literally up all night long, just cussing each other out and making fun of each other. And then she'll wake up, she like, you two are like children. Yeah. But he's like baby this, baby that. But yeah, they he was very instrumental in our weight loss journey. Yeah. Specifically mine, because that mindset that he has when I was about 400. My heaviest was about 470, so 473. I was not, when I first started watching him, his message, I wasn't mentally ready for it. And it wasn't until I started losing the weight and wanting to get into the gym where everything I used to hear him say on his videos really started kind of coming back to me and helping me on my journey. And then to be able to have that personal connection with him where I can ask him for advice, and he really just started putting me on this training plan that took my training to the next level. Especially a couple of years ago when I had I was in the hospital for about 2 weeks. So I have a aorta dissection. So basically it's a tear in my main valve from my heart leading down to my midsection. So there's two versions of it. You have an ascending tear and a descending tear. Neither one of them are good, but if you got to have one, you want the one going away from the heart. So luckily that's what I had. And with him having a heart transplant and all that stuff, that when I got out of the hospital, I went in the hospital at 235 pounds. I came out in 202 pounds. And they told me from that point on, I would never be able to lift again. They were just like, it's just too much stress on your body. And so for about 3 months, I didn't touch a weight. And I remember I called CT one day and I was just like, look, they telling me I can't lift anymore. I don't know what to do. And he was like, damn that. He was like, we're going to totally switch your plan up. So he basically personalized the weightlifting plan for me that would allow me to basically lift lighter, but more volume. And honestly, from that point on, that's when I really started seeing the changes in my body with just the way he kind of restructured my workout plan. Because before that, I was doing his Fletcher formula, but he hadn't actually put it out yet. So he was just kind of using me as a trial run and a few other people. But he retailored that whole program for me, and it's been amazing, the results I've seen so far.
That's awesome.
Sorry, I'm just rambling, but yeah.
But no, I can see, the warmth in the relationship from, the Instagram that you guys have.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's a once in a lifetime relationship.
Absolutely.
With the once in a lifetime kind of person.
Yeah, it was interesting because my boy that introduced me to CT all these years ago, he came out this weekend to the expo. So I was able to introduce him to CT, and it was like mind blowing for him too. Because and to see the amount of people that waited in line to talk to him today, and I always tell him, like, he always tells me, like, I'm not a celebrity. He said, that I'm not a celebrity. I'm like, but Pops, you got to understand, like, your reach is worldwide. Like, you've inspired so many people. I mean, to see, like, grown men that were walking up to him over the weekend, they were just, like, in tears. And they were just like, you really, really, like, saved my life. You helped me. And I asked him right when he got ready to leave, I said, does that ever get old? And he was like, son, he said, it's still, for me, he said, it's mind-blowing for me that people would stand in these long lines just to shake my hand. He doesn't, sometimes I don't think he realizes the reach that he has. I say, when you go live, I say, Pops, you got people all over the world like that you've inspired. And I think sometimes it's still hard for him to grasp how amazing he truly is sometimes. But he's probably the most humble individual I've ever met in my life.
His voice is so strong. Just what it does. I came across him, I think it was in Virginia. It's probably over about 6-7 years now. But I think it was a friend of mine from Mississippi who was there who put me on to him, and I was doing a little workout stuff then. I feel terrible now because I still haven't started my weight, at least my muscle gaining.
Yeah.
Like
Never
I want
too late to start, though, brother. Trust me, I'm living proof of it.
And it's such an inspiration even just to be here. And that's one thing. When I came across him in Virginia, I never thought I'd be living here in California to go even meet Samson.
Yep.
Wow.
And to meet him last year at Iron Wars.
Yep.
And like I said, the energy and the power of his voice then, I came on to him to the Terry Crews videos. Yeah. So it was inspiring then. And like I said, even just to stand in line the same thing for me. I was last year, I just got to shake his hand, take a picture. It's like, yo, this dude, even just from the heart problems and to have that video, the fall was painful. Man.
Yeah. And he plays that now and it drives her crazy. And she was just like, would you stop posting that video? Like, he thinks it's funny. And like, she gets all freaked out every time he posts it. She was like, but
it's still that fatherly cringe, like, come on, man. Oh man.
Yeah. Even it's watching that is like, but it's
inspiring.
Yeah, but and I asked him, I'm like, what drove you to do that? Like, you just had your heart transplant. He was like, He said I had to prove something to myself.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, well.
And that's, it teach us all, though. That's the same
Yeah.
thing. We got that we want to prove to ourselves, you know, but it takes
Yep.
a voice like his and that type of even just understanding of life, you know, what you can be at your low and, you know, you could either take it and let it beat you down and go with it, or, hey,
Yep.
you get up, beat the shit out of it and show them you the best person in the room, or
That's
you
right.
you know, you one of the baddest motherfuckers out there.
Yeah.
So,
And that's the thing, and that's what I tell him. I'm like, you know, to have that personal conversation with him when I got out of the hospital, I was just like, you know, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And he was just like, "Are you dead?" I was like, "No." And he was like, "Well,
did you die?
he was like, well,
But
he said, guess what? Your ass gonna keep lifting. He said, now, he was like, you know, I'm not telling you to not follow the doctor's orders, because they basically at that point they had gave me clearance to lift a little bit. And he was like, I'm just gonna restructure your plan. So if you can't lift heavy, you can't lift heavy. And honestly, even at that, you know, you just on this whole man trip, I gotta lift all the weights in the gym, and it was kind of reprogramming my brain to realize, okay, I don't have to go in the gym and lift 400 pounds. Like, my goal is to continue to transform my body. Because by that time, I had already lost maybe 150 pounds, but I was looking like a melted candle too. So it's just like, and I tell people that as I started losing the weight, my confidence kind of went backwards. Most people, when they start losing weight, they gain more confidence. Because I didn't like the way my body was looking, it was like, ugh. I kind of lost that confidence. So I knew I wanted to put more muscle on and all of that stuff. So at that point, the only thing I knew from playing football was just going to the gym and lift the heaviest weights you can lift. There was no program. There was no method to the madness at all. So for him to kind of tailor that plan and give me a plan to follow was really, like I said, really started seeing the changes and really kind of taking me to that next level. Now I just got to get my nutrition in order and stay off the Girl Scout Thin Mint cookies.
oh, man.
That's my struggle.
Did you both compete in Iron Wars?
No, just me. So
Okay.
So weightlifting, strength training was not my thing. When I lost my weight, so my highest I was 468. So I've lost over 240, and but once I lost the weight, I got into running. So I did running, biking, swimming. So I've done triathlon, and that's what I was into until he got sick. So when he got sick and wanted to start strength training again, you know, I was at every doctor's appointment. I heard the doctors and what they said, you know, no more than 50 pounds. They put a number on it. He never wants to talk about the number, but they put a number and they said no more than 50. So, you know, I was like very, and this was 6 months after my dad had died. So I was like, I can't lose you. So whatever they say do, this is what we're going to do. And I wasn't a strength trainer, weightlifter at all, but he wanted to start lifting again, and CT put him on this program. So I was like, well, if that's what you're going to do, that's what I'm going to do, because I'm going to be right there with you, and I'm going to watch and make sure you're not overexerting yourself and you're doing what the doctors say. So basically, I was there as his chaperone to make sure he was doing the right thing. And I just kind of started, you know, just lifting, and I was reading how it, you know, could help in triathlon. So I was like, okay, let me do some of that. You know, I'm over 40, and they say lifting weights is good for you as you start to age. I was like, okay, so let me just do a little bit of something. And that's all I was doing. And I went to Iron Wars with him last year, and I was just going to, honestly, just to help CT. Like, I manned the merchandise table. So that was what I was doing. But then, you know, the energy, it was like, it sucks you in.
Yeah.
And all these people, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, and then there weren't many women. So I believe there was 2 women that competed that year.
Yeah.
It was 2 women that actually competed. He had a couple of special guest lifters. I think, you know,
Nadia Storm.
yeah, Nadia Storm, plus size fitness queen. She came in and did her. She didn't lift, but
she was just
he
there,
had like special guests. So
Yeah.
and this was like 5 or 6 months ago, and I texted him and I was like, Pops, I think I want to compete next year. And he was like, really? And I was like, sure, why not? You know. And I'd never been on a bench. I hadn't done any of that. So we went to the gym, and he's like, well, we got to see what your max is. So I lifted a struggle 135 pounds. Like, it took it all out of me to push it up one time. And CT put me on a program. He trained me virtually every week and got me to Iron Wars this year. So competed and was able to rep my former max 135 11 times and won. So
Nice.
yeah, so super.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I was so happy to be able to do that. Now, I went into this thinking I'm not gonna win. I just wanted to do it just to honestly to honor my dad and do it for CT because he had trained me. And 5 or 6 months, I'm like, that's no time. Yeah. And I was thinking, 135 pounds, like in my mind, it didn't seem heavy, but it kind of really is.
Yeah, it is.
So being able to do that, and I was able to compete this year. So I'm still on a high from that and can't wait till next year.
Yeah, she has to defend her crown.
Yes,
now,
yes. So now, and I told him and I told CT, I said they've created a monster because I think I've walked around for the last almost 48 hours telling him to call me Champ. Man. Like, don't call me Kim. My name is Champ. Or dress me appropriately.
She was literally, I'm going to post a video. I took a video. She was laying like in the bed with this thing around her neck. And I'm like.
I had the medal on. I got up. I sat at the table with breakfast. I had my medal on. Man, I didn't want to embarrass. I was going to wear it to the expo, to the Fit Expo, but I didn't want to embarrass him too terribly.
You're going to embarrass me.
But I do plan to wear it when I go to work, when I get back home.
So yeah, I mean and when we talked about that earlier, and I'm amazed at how God works sometimes. Me being in the hospital and my doctors told me I was kind of explaining to him my weight loss journey, and like I said, I had already lost maybe 150, 160 pounds by then. He said, Michael, I'm gonna tell you something. He said, I'm 99.9% sure had you not lost the weight and had this aorta dissection, you would have dropped dead where you were standing at. So luckily I had already started the journey and had got the weight off me. And I was like, well, why is that? And he was like, people don't understand how much extra stress you put on your body when you got that much weight on. And he was like, so because the aorta dissection happened in my garage, and I didn't know what it was. I thought I had pulled a muscle because, we had worked out that morning. I was feeling good. And, by that, COVID had hit. So I had all this like extra stuff, like workout stuff in the garage. And she went to work that morning and I was in the garage working out. I'm like, get another workout in, and was in there lifting weights. And I remember I was sitting on the bench and couldn't get up. And I was like, I just had this pain in my chest that went all the way down to my midsection. I didn't know what had happened. So I was thinking, okay, I had pulled a muscle because I was lifting heavy that day and barely made it from the garage back into the house. And I remember laying on the couch for like an hour, and I texted her. I said, something's not right. I think I pulled a muscle. So I laid on the couch for an hour, literally crawled up the stairs, because we had a 2-story house, climbed up the stairs, got in the bed. The next day I woke up, felt a little better. That was Saturday. Sunday, woke up, felt a little better, still had this pain in my midsection. And that Monday, I knew I had to travel for work. So I was like, let me just go get checked out. Go over to urgent care across the street. By the time they check me in and were getting ready to call me to the back, I'm passing out in the lobby of the waiting room. They get me to the hospital. They call an ambulance, get me to the hospital. I'm telling the doctor, telling the nurse what's going on. They give me a CAT scan. They roll me back into the room, like literally 5 minutes later. They run back into the room. They like, we got a helicopter coming. You're going into immediate open heart surgery. And by this time, I'm feeling better. So I'm like, the hell you mean I'm going into open heart surgery? He was like, you got a tear in your aorta. So they literally put me in a helicopter, flew me to University of Maryland. Luckily, I didn't have to have the surgery, so I'm doing okay. But eventually, I have to get a stent put in down the line. But, and my doctor was like, it's stress. He's like, it's you carrying all that weight and my blood pressure was ridiculous. Like, I had years and years of undiagnosed high blood pressure that took a toll on me as well. So right now it's just trying to keep the stress as low as possible and just try to smile every day and be thankful, man. So that's really where this journey is kind of leading me. And now really I'm really thinking about getting my training certificate. I really want to help men that are dealing with heart issues like I'm dealing with. And also, and I don't know if we talked about it, but we started our weight loss journey. We both had weight loss surgery. I had 2019. So that's what really kicked off our journey. So I really want to start working with bariatric patients as well. I hear so many horror stories about bariatric patients that go into a gym and the trainers are scolding them about, you don't need weight loss surgery and all of that stuff. So I really want to kind of tailor my training to help people that have had weight loss surgery as well and help them get to the next level.
What is that? I know I've heard of it. I don't quite know too much.
Yeah,
about
we
it.
had gastric sleeve surgery, so they
Okay.
removed 80% of our stomach.
Okay.
So you could there's a couple there's the gastric sleeve, and then there's a total bypass where they kind of reroute your intestines and organs. We didn't have that one, but we did have where part of our stomach was removed, and we both had it in 2019. I had it in February. He had it in April, and you know it was kind of, for me, the last resort. Like, I was 468 pounds. My dad was in the hospital. My dad was morbidly obese as well. And for me, the trigger was seeing him in the hospital, and like, he couldn't get a MRI. He couldn't get a CAT scan because he couldn't fit in the machines. And to have a doctor tell me, we don't know what we can do for him because he's just too big. And I'm like, it's 2018. You're telling me because he's big, you can't save him? And the doctors were like, we can do surgery, but we don't know what we're going to be looking at because we can't see it ahead of time. So they were like, he's got a 50-50 chance of survival. He had to have brain surgery. And they did it. Luckily, he had lesions on his brain, and they were able to remove a couple of them, but left him where he couldn't move his left side of his body, so he couldn't walk anymore. And he came out of that surgery, and they wheeled him in his room, and he looked at me. And mind you, I'm daddy's girl. He's never said anything to me about my weight ever growing up. And I wasn't an overweight child, but kind of put on weight as a teenager, you know, had 2 kids, and just years packing on the weight. But he never once said anything about it. And he looked at me and he said, don't be like me. And I was like, what do you mean, don't be like you? What? Like, you're the best dad in the world. And he was like, don't die fat. And I was just like, okay. And we never spoke of weight again. He said that one thing. That was it. I waited with him until he came out of anesthesia, made sure he was good. I went home and I told Michael, I said, I'm having weight loss surgery. And he's like, what? And I said, I have to lose the weight. You know, I was in my, early 40s when my dad got really sick like that. And all I could think about was, I had teenage daughters. And I said, you know, I would never say that my dad was a burden, but I would feel like a burden if something happened to me. My daughters are teenagers. They would never get to experience life because they'd be taking care of me, all because I couldn't control what I put in my mouth. So I had to do something. So I told him I was going to do it. He was like, okay, I'm behind you. He was like, but I'm not. He wasn't going to do it. He was like, he'll lose weight another way. So I started looking at doctors and hospitals, found one. I really wasn't impressed, didn't like them, found another practice. And I think, within 6 months of making the decision, I was having the surgery. But for me, it was that moment I had to make a change, or I never was going to. So I honestly, I was blessed that I didn't have any like high blood pressure, diabetes, or any issues, but it was going that way. Like, my mobility was not good. I could barely walk. I remember we would get in arguments when we would go to the mall or to the grocery store because he would park too far. And I'd be like, you got to circle. Like, I can't walk that. You got to park closer. So things like that. Or when we took our kids to Disney and I had to get a scooter because I couldn't walk Disney World. So I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I'm the type of person, if I'm going to make up my mind and do it, I have to do it now. Like, I can't wait. It's got to be done. So that's why I decided to do it. And then while I was going through my pre-op and all of that stuff you have to do, it was winter. He ended up getting sick with bronchitis. What we thought was bronchitis. Mm-hmm. Took him to urgent care, and his blood pressure was like 200 over 120. And
no. It was higher than that.
Yeah.
It was like 220 over.
Yeah. They told him he was a walking stroke. Yeah. And they said that was masking to what looked like bronchitis, like a respiratory issue, but it was really high blood pressure.
Yeah, I thought everything I did that day, I was just winded, like walking up the stairs. Now, mind you, before that happened, even me carrying around all that weight, I could walk long distances. I never had an issue with any of that. But that particular day, and they say high blood pressure is like the silent killer. Yeah. So I'm thankful that I did start to have some kind of symptoms, because I probably never would have went to the hospital to get checked out. That particular day, I was just having trouble breathing. Go to the hospital. Blood pressure was, I think it was like 220 over 180. It was almost, it was like 220 over 180. And the doctor was like, you're a walking stroke. And from that point, I knew I was in denial about, I've tried diet, juicing, this, that over the years. And that really, for me, was like the thing, like, okay, Michael, stop lying to yourself. Like, you're not going to lose the weight. So I knew I had to get on that train with her, and it was the best decision I ever made. And then to have like a year and a half later where I had the aorta dissection, and for my surgeon to tell me, had I not lost the weight, I would have died. That really solidified for me that I made the right decision, because you deal with the trolls online and people say, oh, you could have did it naturally, you could have did it this way. And I was kind of letting that stuff kind of get in my head a little bit. But then when that happened, it was like, nah, I made the right decision. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely been a blessing. And it's opened up so many other doors. Like, I just never thought this weight loss journey was going to open up the doors that it's opened up. So it's been amazing, man. Absolutely amazing.
And before I guess we go on and we get more into the amazingness of your connection and how you came together, mm-hmm. and the secret to how these types of things, having a partner to, help get through these things. We're going to take a short little break, and we're going to come right back.
Most definitely.
Yep. So, Michael, you mentioned earlier about your expertise in, making connections online with, CT and everything. I like to ask, and I've heard you make a conversation on Instagram as well. You made a post about, how you guys met. Mm-hmm. Fill us in a little bit more on how that I wasn't sure if you were joking or if
I was
you were serious.
Dead ass serious.
So
I stalked her for months. So Kymberly used to do modeling years ago, and there would be like these, I guess people were kind of reposting her pictures on these different like Facebook pages, and I remember sitting on Facebook one evening and this little sexy thing popped up, and I was like, who is that? I got to have her. So I did a little detective work and actually found her regular Facebook page and, jumped in the DM. And no. I didn't jump in her DMs first. I think I started following her, and then I would just kind of comment on her stuff. And I cannot remember. It was a song. It was a Beyonce song or something. And we started having this debate back and forth online. And I think that's kind of what like opened the door. But she was living in Maryland. I was living in Little Rock, Arkansas at the time. So she was kind of like blowing me off because it was some distance. So, I'm a persistent brother when I need to be. And I had to do a little chip in. And so finally we exchanged numbers. But every time I would reach out to her, she'd be like, I'm busy. Lying. She wasn't busy.
I was busy. I had things to do.
She's already admitted that she was lying. So she wasn't really taking me seriously because of the distance. And then, I broke her down. That's what I do. But yeah, we met online, and it just kind of blossomed from there. And next thing I know, I was moving to Maryland. So that's basically the gist of it. But yeah, I did a little stalking there for a minute, but I had to have her.
Yeah, we talked one night, all night on the phone, and from then we talked every day on the phone, and just developed a relationship from Facebook. And he came to visit, and I was like, oh, okay, then he's serious. Like, because, this is long distance. I'm thinking, first of all, I don't know anybody in Arkansas. I'm like, Arkansas, really? Okay. And then, he was like, I'll come visit you. I was like, really? So he came to visit. We went on a date.
Told you I had to have her.
And it was then, and it was a blessed one. We were nervous when we started dating. We dated for about a year before our kids met. So he has 2 daughters. I have 2 daughters. And how old is Deja's like? She was like 16.
Yeah.
Yeah. And our 2, we have 2 that are 6 months apart actually. And then the youngest. And we were very nervous about getting all 4 girls together because girls can be something. So we were like, it's either going to go real well or it's going to be real bad. And got them together, and they all fell in love with each other. And the two that are 6 months apart are best friends and have been best friends since they were 12, and they're now 21. So that worked out.
They live together.
They live together. They go to college together. Nice. So yeah. And our youngest is just turned 18. She'll graduate this year. The oldest is Deja's 24 now. 24.
Newly granddaddy.
Yeah, so. She just had a baby a couple months ago. So now we have a granddaughter. Congrats. So now it's 5 girls.
Wow.
Poor him.
Wow, that is crazy.
Yeah, that's a lot of girls.
Yeah. So
it's been quite the journey.
Yeah, so we were blessed to have a blended family that worked. Not to say that it was easy. We had some real ups and downs. I mean, we had teenage daughters. Like, that alone is just a lot. But we got through it, and, you know, now we're getting to the point where we're going to be empty nesters soon. We're moving here to LA in June. The youngest is coming with us. She's going to go to cosmetology school here. But the plan is that she's going to do her cosmetology for a year. The other two will graduate in 2024. They're coming out here. The 3 of them have talked about moving together, and we'll be empty nesters at that point. So we're counting down till 2024 when they will all be gone.
So what inspired you to do the podcast? Something in common.
So again, I had initially, when we first got together, I wanted to do a podcast, so I started doing one, and it was my truth. It was just basically me rambling about whatever I felt like rambling about at the time. I did that for a little while, and when I would listen back to it, I was like, God, I hate hearing myself talk. And I didn't feel like at that particular point in my life I had a lot to talk about. So that kind of dwindled into me and her. We would just be in the bed at night just talking about any and everything. And she was really big on like current events and politics and all of that stuff. I'm like, hold on, we might have something here. But she's not super talking into like the public and all of that stuff. So when I first brought it to her, I was like, well, maybe we need to do a show together. And she was like, no.
I am a very introverted person. So that was just not what I really wanted to do. So
it took a little coaxing, and then it turned into, but once we got going, she's one of those people where, like, when the camera comes on, she turns into this whole different person. And it kind of took a life of its own to where when people started listening, like, all they wanted to hear was, because she would go on these rants about, you get her going on something, it's like a rant, and she just goes off. And I think the other reason her and CT get along so well, they both cuss like sailors. So she,
I have a problem.
Yeah,
I've learned how to be really good with it and hold it. But if I'm on one, it's just
And so her rants were becoming super popular, where people would just be like, they just wanted to know what she was going to rant about the next show. So I kind of just turned into the introduction person and kind of get the ball rolling. And from there, she would take over, and it would get legs of his own. So it kind of turned into that. But, you know,
I had a very interesting, so Michael is my second husband. I had a very interesting first marriage that has led to a lot of discussion on the podcast, especially when we talk about relationship, because I had such a horrible first marriage.
But that was the thing where women were relating to her story, and that's kind of like what drew a lot of the people in. You go back and listen to some of those early episodes. It was like, whoa. And the women be like, girl, I know what you're talking about. And it would just be, it would literally just blossom into all of this other stuff. Then the way she would kind of talk about the politics, she had her own show for a little while. It was Rise Up with Kimberly Nicole, where all she talked about was politics, and then that kind of died off because she got to the point where it's just like the news started becoming so negative. And she was just like, when I tell you, she was like CNN all day, all night, news all day, all night, and then it just got to the point where it's like I think we just watched CNN again for the first time in years the other night when they were doing the House Speaker votes.
Yeah,
but she just completely she was like, it's too negative. It's just too much craziness going on. So her show was kind of short-lived, and like I said, the biggest fight I have now with the podcast is just being consistent. And so it was so funny because a lot of our listeners, long-term listeners, would just be like, they kind of gave us this phrase. They'll be like, we know life be life, and you said we'll go for 3 months and then fall off for a month and come back. So anytime I do introduction now, I label our show the most inconsistent podcast ever, because we'll get going and then something to happen and we'll fall off. But it's so funny because our listeners are just like, we get it. We know. They've been listening for years now, so they know we'll fall on. But I really, when we get back out here, really just want to, especially kind of being in this fitness and health and wellness space where, and like I said, it's opening up so many doors for us, and I'm meeting so many people. And so it's like, okay, now I got plenty of content to really talk about and people to interview and stuff like that. So actually, I want to put together an episode here recently because I really wanted to talk about these last 5-6 months with her training, because it's been absolutely amazing what she's accomplished. It was crazy sitting at Iron Wars. Even today, like they had a bench set up at the Fit Expo, and people were just kind of, now mind you, Friday she did 11 reps on the 135. So they had the expo thing out today, and she did it again, and she hit 12 today. And people were just standing behind me, and they were just like, holy shit, like she's good. And when you tell people she's only been training for a few months, they're just like, what? Like, so I really want to talk about that journey. And
did you cry?
Him?
Who, me? No, honestly.
Last Iron Wars?
No, I was so.
He almost did.
Now, mind you, leading up to Iron Wars, she was trying to talk herself out of it. She was like, I'm not going to do it. Like, she was so nervous. She's like, I'm not going to do it. I'm like, no, you're going to do it. And I told her, I was like, and I told her, I said, so if you're not going to do it, tell CT you're not going to do it.
I couldn't tell him that. I could not tell him that. So I was like, forget it.
So that Friday, she literally sat in the car for like an hour and didn't want to get out of the car. We were sitting in front of the gym.
So
I went in to help them get stuff set up, and she was just sitting in the car, and she would not get out of the car. She was like,
so you were nervous?
I was so nervous. I was like, I didn't want to embarrass myself. I haven't been doing this very long. I feel like what I've done is not a big deal, because I follow a bunch of fitness women online and see all these really strong women, and I get it. They've been training for years and years and years. And I was just like, what the heck am I doing? I am so out of my league. I told him, I was like, why didn't you say something to me 6 months ago? Like, why did you tell me don't say that? Don't say you're going to do that. So I was like, I was just super, super nervous. And I had to get my mind together because I had told CT I was going to do it. And I was like, I can't tell him I'm not. So I'm going to go and just give it what I can. If I win, I win. If I don't, I don't. I had no expectation of winning because I had been there last year and I had seen other women. I was like, I don't think I can do it. But
it's a high energy.
It definitely is. And it sucks you in and you're like, oh, I want to do it too. And I was so nervous when they called my name and I got on the bench, my legs were shaking. So I was trying to not have my legs shake because he was doing a live stream on YouTube. I was like, please don't let anybody see my legs shaking. And I'm trying to lift too. So I was trying to focus. And so today when I did 12 reps at the expo, he was like, you could have did that yesterday. I said, when I tell you how my brain was like, don't let your legs shake. You got to lift, do all this at the same time. I was literally shaking on the bench at Iron Wars because I was so nervous. Because everybody was just watching.
The other young lady that she went against, she had been training for years.
Yeah, 7 years.
And so they kind of met when she came in, because when we got there, Kim was working the table of signing the check-in table. So her and the girl that she went against were talking, and she was like, oh yeah, I've been lifting for
7 years.
7 years. And so she really got nervous then because she was just like, oh,
and she was half my age. Like, she's 24. So I saw her card, I'm like, she's 24. And she said, I can rep 8 at 135. And I told Michael, I was like, she's probably lying. I know she's 20 something. She's going to be just pulling them out. But I was like, and I had never repped more than 5.
Because that wasn't how her training, and we didn't know how the competition worked for the women. So we didn't know if they were doing like a max bench, like how much you can bench, or we didn't know if they were doing reps. So the way CT had her plan set up, he would only have her like doing 3 to 5 reps on each bench exercise. So sometimes it'd be a floor press or a pin press or a regular bench or close grip bench. He just had her doing all kind of things. So we had never really tested to see how many reps she could do because we didn't know what the weight was going to be. So when the girl went first and she did 9, 8?
Yeah, she did 9.
She did 9. And I had only seen Kim do like 3 to 5 reps on the 135, so I'm kind of like, oh shit, like, okay. But
again, she was younger, and I was like, oh,
So we had no idea how many reps she could do. But if you go back and watch the live stream or the video we posted to Instagram, when she got the first rep, she just kind of threw it up and it was really light. And CT was like, oh shit. So, and it was just like, she just kept going. And I was just like, so when she got to 10, so the girl had got 9. So when she got to 10, I was like blown away. I was like, and then to hear the men behind me that had been lifting for years, the guys, they were just like, what the fuck? Like, they were just blown away, especially when CT was like, she's only been lifting for 5 months. So everybody was just blown away. And then when she won, it was like, whoa. So I didn't cry, but I was so proud. Like, I told her, I said, I'm almost in tears now because I was so proud of her.
Yeah.
And to see the embrace that her and CT shared after that, he was so proud of her. He was so proud. And it was just like this, like I said, the way this journey has kind of unfolded all these years has been kind of surreal for me. You know, it's just like I never started this journey to inspire anybody. It was just like, okay, Michael, you got to get this weight off or you're going to die. Like, you're going to kill yourself. And, you know, to see people walking up to her at the fitness expo, recognizing her. And it was just like, I said, this is really cool. So it's really blossomed into something that I'd never, ever imagined.
It's a beautiful thing to witness.
Yeah, and I think for CT, you know, he's got lots of kids, lots of kids. And I don't think any of his daughters lift.
No.
Samson, definitely, you know, he's out there. And
monster.
So,
that boy is a
monster,
walking muscle.
Yeah.
It's just,
so he gets a kick out of it when he can say, you know, that he trained me, and he was, you know, able to see that happen. So.
Yeah, so we went to my wife has been doing the vegan thing for a while, so I'm trying to get on that whole plant-based train. So there's this place called the Vegan Exchange out here in Hollywood. So we went there before we went to the expo, and we were standing in line getting our food, and I get a notification on my phone, and CT had made a whole post like specifically about her, and then I was just like, oh God, here he goes babying you again. So he was so proud, and so she kind of walked off, and she came back, and she was like, my heart. I was like, oh God, she's so full of it.
It's beautiful though, you know, and I'm glad you guys take care of him as far as like you guys did with the foot massager.
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
you know, amazing gesture.
You know, people, he does better with the online trolls than I do. You know, I take a lot of this crazy stuff people say to him, you know, and I normally let Samson handle all that, but just somebody that's close to him, it really bothers me when people like, oh, that's not the CT Fletcher I remember. Like, people don't get older and go through health issues and stuff like that. So,
they're not sports fans.
Yeah, it's just like, really, like, come on, the man is 63 years old now, like, oh, he's not the same guy. And so that crap really bothers me. So, and I always tell him, like, you know, when it comes to like his merchandise, anything I wear with any of his stuff, like, I pay for it. Like, I never ask him for anything free. Like, it's not that type of relationship. And I tell him all the time, I'm like, what we do for you, whether it's coming out for the events, anything we could do to help, because I'm just so appreciative for what he did for me. And really what he, like, when he really stepped in when her dad died, like, he didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
And so I'm just so appreciative. I tell him all the time, whatever you need me to do, I'm there. So, you know, he hit me last year. They were getting some footage they're trying to get his reality show off the ground and all of that stuff. And he was like, he called me one day. Now, normally we always text each other. So I know when he calls my phone, like, it's something going on. So he calls me one day. He was like, son, I really want you to be a part of this promo for the reality show. Can you get here? Like, when you need me there. Hopped on the first thing smoking, came out. We recorded the stuff. I told him, I said, I will forever be grateful for what you did for me and what you're doing for my wife. So whenever you need me, I'm there. So whether it's helping at Iron Wars or at the expos or wherever, whenever, however he needs me, I'm there for him. So, And it just, like I said, it just turned into something. Like, it was funny today. He got mad at me about they were taking a family photo. So I'm just trying to back off and get out of the photo. And he was like, get your ass over here right now. He was like, you're family. You come over here and get in this picture. I'm like, so, you know, you try not to intrude and get into that kind of stuff. And when I interviewed Samson for our podcast a couple of months ago, I asked him, you know, I was like, how do you feel about kind of sharing your dad with the world? You know, and he admitted, like, early on it was very hard for him as his actual son to have everybody call his dad Pops and kind of share him with the world. He's like, but I had to understand as I got older that my dad has done some amazing things that inspire people. He said, so now I'm able to embrace the fact that, you know, he's kind of like a dad for everybody. And so I always tell him, like, I'm like, look, man, that's not my goal to come here and step on your toes or jump in where I don't fit in or anything like that. And CT's like, no, y'all are family. So he always, that's his daughter and all of that stuff. So like I said, I appreciate how they've accepted us into their family. And, you know, like I said, so I'm on the first thing smoking whenever he calls me. So wherever I can do to help, I'm there. So, but you know, that the swelling in his legs, we were just trying to figure out like what we could do to help. And I know, you know, he put it out there that, you know, a lot of the reason for the swelling is because of the medicine he has to take for the heart transplant, so it causes a swelling in his feet. And I'm just like, you know, we bought him a pair of walking shoes not too long ago because he stayed trying to put his feet in them Converse. And I was just like, well, maybe we can do the foot and leg massage. And he said it's really been helping. So that it was just more just to try to get him as much comfort as he can possibly get, because he really wants to get back and start walking and kind of getting back into a fitness routine. So I said, yeah, that was just more of just whatever we could do to help with the swelling in his legs and his feet. So that's pretty much it.
Gesture.
Yeah.
Really nice gesture. And even, I guess, to kind of go a little bit off a little bit to talk generation. And I noticed you guys came in on your podcast comfortable with talking relationship. We came in on our podcast talking more interviewing and, you know, with other people.
Yeah.
I drive rideshare, and I do notice that even as, you know, the next generation and single people, they're having a hard time out here.
Yeah, it's a different dating field out here.
Right,
it's different.
What are some of the things as far as the journey that you guys share together and the love, understanding the love that it takes to share a journey like what you have? Some people don't understand what it takes when you love somebody to kind of go through a journey.
I'll let her, for me, and the one thing that stood out with our podcast, especially when we were talking relationships, we never tried to sugarcoat and act like our relationship was perfect, because it's not. We've had our ups and downs, and being able to kind of put that in the forefront, I think, made it a little more relatable to the average person. You get a lot of people that talk about relationships, and when you listen to them, you would think, oh, their relationship is all roses and all of that stuff. Like, I stay on her last nerve on a consistent basis, and I will put that out there, and it just made it more relatable. But I think now, especially as we get older and kind of going through this hell journey, for me, I'm more appreciative to her. When I was in the hospital for those 2 weeks, she never left my side, other than because it was during COVID, so she could only stay for till like 8 o'clock, I think. From the time they allowed visitors to the time they told her to go home, she never left my side for those 2.5 weeks I was in that hospital. And for me, that was just really the point where it's just like I'm good. Like I needed this, because I don't know what would have happened had she not been there by my side. And I don't like needles, so they were poking and prodding on me in that hospital, and I was like, I told her, I said, I'm leaving. Like, I was to the point I was going to check my ass right out of that hospital. Whatever happened after that was going to happen, and I did not care, because my blood pressure would not regulate. So they couldn't take it from a regular cuff. They had to stick a needle in my arm and basically monitor the blood pressure through my veins. But anytime I moved, like, I couldn't sleep. I think I was starting to go delirious because I couldn't sleep, because every time I would move, the needle would shift, and then they had to poke me again. I said, I'm getting the hell out of here. And it got so bad to the point where she was like, I'm calling your mother. She literally called my mother, and my mother lit into my ass real good, and I shut up. And it was just like, but for me, it made me realize, like, if I didn't have that if I didn't have her as my backbone, I probably would have done something stupid and probably wouldn't be here right now to tell that story. So that part of it, and don't get me wrong, I still get on her nerves, and a lot of times I do it on purpose just because it makes my life, it entertains me at times. But yeah, it's as you get older, when you're younger, you don't have that mindset, but really knowing that you got somebody that's got your back at all times really solidified all of this for me, that I ain't going no damn where. Like, it's just, I need her to separate my pills for me and,
Yeah, and I think
keep me on my feet.
I think it's, getting to the point where you accept. Because it's either you're going to accept the person for who they are and what they bring, or you're not. So what's it going to be?
Yeah.
And like I said, my first marriage was not good at all. And I got to that point where it was like, I'm either going to accept this madness or I'm not. And I decided not to. So I went 10 years and I had resolved myself to, I'm going to be single. I'm going to raise these 2 little girls to be productive citizens, and I'm just going to be single. And then I met him. So, and I had no intention of getting married again. Zero intention. Like, I was going to raise my kids and it was just going to be me. And, met him, and
I broke her down.
and I honestly did a lot to not, I did not want to be in a relationship. I did not want to like him. I did not want to fall in love with him.
But you did.
But I did.
Because I'm so smooth with it.
So here we are. But I think you just have to, you're either going to accept what it is or you're not. And I appreciate the fact that I'm a strong-willed person. My parents raised me very independent. I can take care of myself, and he accepts all of that. Like, I know I'm at the point in my life where I know I can be something else, and it is what it is. I do my best. I try. I'm a work in progress, but I'm headstrong, and there's things that it's just either going to be this way or it's not. And he gets it, and he knows when to just be like, just let her do her. I'm a goal person, so I have to work to something or to hold myself accountable. So this journey for me, like I said, I started doing triathlon because I needed to do something. Like, I needed to train for that next race, or I wasn't going to do anything. So it's either all or nothing for me. And I appreciate the fact that he's okay with that all or nothing. So I can give him the craziest thing in the world. Like, I'm going to train for Iron Wars, and I've never laid on a bench a day in my life. And he says, okay, like, if that's what you want to do, you're going to do it. We were here, I think a year and a half ago. We drove to San Francisco with his parents just to visit. And I said, I want to swim in the bay. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, like, I do triathlon. I want to swim there. And he was like, okay. So
I'm not getting.
He's like, I'm not, but I'll go with you. So I went and I swam, and there was sea lions in the water. He's got it captured. He's like, there's something back there. And I'm like,
yeah, there's big ones.
Oh, okay. So things like that, like, I'll just say it and he'll be like, all right,
we snorkel and stuff too.
Yeah,
so we
so
know,
I'm
like, that's
we got
crazy.
another person to add to the
yeah. Like,
Yeah.
he just, things like that. And I appreciate that he appreciates that about me. Cause there's a lot of people out there that wouldn't be able to just would look at me crazy.
I call her the boss. That's
Yes.
my nickname for her.
Yeah.
Like, whatever you want to do, boss. And I think for me, because I've never been like the super goal oriented type. Like, I just do. Like, if I want to do something, it's like, okay, I'll try that and I'll do it. If I don't like it, I won't do it. But like, she's so disciplined. And I think for me, especially now, I don't think I would be as far along on this health journey as I am without her, because a lot of the times when I'm watching her, to watch her prep for things is like, it makes me feel like a slacker. It's just like, oh God, like she's up and it's just like, okay. I mean, literally just to watch her lay out the supplements and the protein and this, and I'm just like popping Thin Mint cookies. I'm like, okay, I guess I better do a little better. So yeah, she's definitely helped me take this thing to the next level. And so it's just, and even being here, just being at the fitness expo and being around all these people is just like, okay, I got I always ask myself when I had the aorta dissection and they told me I could have died, I'm like, okay, I'm here for a reason. And I think it's been a little weird for me trying to figure out what that thing is I'm supposed to do. But as I talk to people that are on these health journeys, and especially people that have had weight loss surgery and their struggles, it was like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be helping people that were in the same boat that I was in. And so now I got a couple of guys that I kind of work with on the side that had weight loss surgery, or one guy had the weight loss surgery and he failed at it. He had it right before I had it, and he's bigger now than he was before he had the surgery. Mm-hmm. And another guy that I'm working with, he's a younger guy. He's actually in the process of getting the weight loss surgery. And it's so interesting when people look at like my before and after pictures, they're just like, there's no way in the hell you were that big. I'm like, no, that was me. And it's just like, but there was a plan that I had to follow and things that I had to do. And so to kind of take a lot of that expertise that CT gave me and to kind of help other people along that journey and help them be successful with it, it's been interesting. And like, most people that have weight loss surgery, like 54% of the people who have weight loss surgery fail at it. And it's just like, well, why did they fail at it? Because first, they don't understand the mental aspect of it. People can tell you all the time that getting weight loss surgery is the easy way out. If it was the easy way out, everybody would be successful, and they're not. Because if you don't break that mental part of it that takes you back into those things that got you big in the first place, you're going to fail. And a lot of people fail at it because they don't get the mental aspect of it right. And so that's where I feel like, I can come in. You really got to make that change. And that's the thing. And like I said, and it's a struggle every day. I struggle with it all the time. My sweet tooth is beyond ridiculous at this point. And I really have to fight with that and understand that if I continue to do these things, I'm going to end up being almost 500 pounds again. And I refuse to get back to that point. And so if I can help people be successful and not go backwards, then that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
And we're both in our individual groups, women's groups, men's groups for weight loss and all of that. And a lot of times you'll find couples that either one will lose weight and one won't, or they do it together and the relationship breaks up. So, and that's a real thing. Like you're going through this sometimes traumatic process of, you're losing all this weight, you're losing a part of yourself, your mind is changing. Like it's a whole lot of stuff going on. Plus you're trying to keep a marriage together. Like it can be really difficult. And we had our ups and downs during it. I always say that I was blessed to have him do this journey with me. I don't know how the dynamic would have been had he not lost weight and I don't know where we would have been, honestly. But glad that we went through it together. But as we were going through it, you go through those times where, I read all the time how men lose weight faster than women. And I started before him, and there were some times where I was discouraged and really upset because it was like falling off of him. And I'm like, I'm working my ass off, like literally.
And I was doing nothing.
He was doing nothing. Like he wasn't working out. He wasn't doing nothing. Literally sitting there just losing weight. And I was livid. Like I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I was up at 5 o'clock in the morning, working out, like running, biking, like all of it, all the things I was doing. And I was so angry for a while. Like, I don't understand. And I was losing, but it was more visible for him. Mm-hmm. As women, we're curvier, we carry our weight differently. I carry mine on the bottom half, and I was just like, this is just not fair. I'm so upset. And he would just, be like, I'm not. And I would just be so upset because he would just be chilling, and I'm literally going crazy trying to lose weight. And it didn't help that when people would hear our journey, I would get the question, how much more weight do you want to lose? And he would get, oh man, it must be great to be at your goal. And I'd be like, are you kidding me? Really? And we still get it. Like we went to Iron Wars. Mm-hmm. Everybody asked him, you lifting this year, man? What you gonna live? What you gonna live? And nobody said 2 words to me. So it was shocking when they heard my name and I went up and lifted and he didn't do anything. So it was like.
So now I'm the weakling of the relationship because my wife lifts more than me.
And we have to deal with that what society thinks is, he's at his goal and I'm not, nobody knows for real, but they look at us and think that, they don't know that, I could go run a half marathon tomorrow and he couldn't. So
hell no. Saying half marathon makes me tired.
Right. So we have to deal with those type of struggles as well, out when we go out and people are talking or they ask questions, but
it's just who she is. Like, it doesn't bother me like when people are like find out that she lifts more than me, and I've never been that type. So it was more because she's so like headstrong, like to where that kind of stuff bothers. It doesn't bother me. Like, it's just, she lifts more than me. I'm perfectly fine. It's like for people to recognize her. And when she did her little exhibition thing at the expo, this girl walks up to her and she's like, "Oh my God, you're so amazing." And like, for me, that makes me happy. It makes me happy that she's doing something amazing. Like I said, my goal was just to try to be as healthy as possible and not die. So for her to get those accolades, like, I enjoy that kind of stuff. It doesn't. So now I always make fun. I always tell her now that she won Iron with. I'm like, I'm just going to be, because you see a lot of those bodybuilders in there. They have these guys that follow them around with the cameras and document them. I said, I'm going to be your little documentary man now. So I'm just going to follow you around and document your journey. Yeah, I said so that's gonna. Yeah, I said that's gonna be my job now. Even our podcast, like, people would be like, "Kymberly's a star, Michael's the producer." So that's like our other little tagline. I was like, I just produce the shows. That's the star of the show. So yeah, that dynamic works for us because I don't need to be in the limelight when it comes to anything.
Yeah, and not. It wasn't for me that I wanted to be in the limelight. It just felt like I'm putting in all this work.
And she was.
And
because I was doing nothing in the beginning.
Like I
might walk around the neighborhood, but I wasn't doing anything of any tremendous fitness.
And you just
regimen.
think about what people have the nerve to come up and say to you, "Oh, you 50 more pounds and you'll be good." It's like, excuse me? Oh, really? I could bench press you.
Seriously.
Yep.
I've been watching him trying to gain weight for the last 30 years. And I've been, yo-yo and all this. And no matter what he eats, it's not going to show up.
Well,
on the
used
scale.
to. It shows up now.
Still,
as you
like
get older,
5
it catches
pounds,
up.
and it's like, wow.
It's funny. My oldest daughter's like that. She was so real skinny, and then she's getting older now, especially after she had her baby. She was like, she could eat anything. I'm like, what? Like, how do you eating all that? She would never gain a pound. But I always told her, I said, the older you get, and now she's just like, oh my God, Dad, it's really starting to kill. I was like, I tried to tell you. Yeah, that age will do something to you. So yeah, it's been interesting.
And it gets into your mind, while we are a couple, we are individuals, and it does get into your mind, and you start thinking about like, gosh, what is wrong with me? Maybe I should lose another 50 pounds. And then you have to block out all that society and what they think is normal and what that is. So
I want to just get to a goal of consistency on my workout, just to where it's a way of life. And
and that's really what it is. When they say it's a lifestyle change, it really is a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
And that's still the thing that I struggle with is, I'll get up, I'll go to the gym, but she's always on me, Michael, you got to do more cardio. And I do need to do more cardio. Like, I can go in the gym and lift, but she's like, no, are you going to?
Your heart health.
Yeah. I was going to ask.
If we need to run from
health.
something.
Yeah.
And do you only lift, or do you also do cardio?
No, she does everything.
I do cardio. Like, I still love my running, biking, swimming. Like, I still love that. Strength training has helped all of that. Like, I feel like a stronger runner. I feel like a stronger cyclist because of strength training. If I'm in my mind, I like running to, get away from, if I'm thinking about something or I've got things on my mind. Running, cycling, I do all that for that. Strength training is a real good stress reliever, especially when it's been
For me, it's the opposite.
when it's a hard day at work and I'm just like ready to lose it. Being able to throw up some heavy weight helps me. But, if I have a lot on my mind, running and cycling, I can think through a lot of things because I have the time when I'm doing that. So I really like that stuff. He's not a cardio person at all. I don't even know what to do at this point to get this man to walk. And I tell him, he has the heart issue, and the doctors have said cardio is your best friend when you have heart issues, blood pressure issues, because, you know, that's going to strengthen the heart. And, you know, I don't know. He can't get with it.
I believe California could.
And you know what? I think so.
Seriously.
I agree.
Yeah.
You know, so he's from California, from Bakersfield, and we would come and visit his parents, and I fell in love with it here. And the only reason why we didn't do it sooner is because my dad was so sick and he was in the hospital. And when he passed away, I was like, you know what? I need a change. I've been in Maryland most of my life. And I was like, I got to get out of there. I got to do something else. And I always feel more inspired after I leave here. Lots more vegan options.
Yes.
And it's so much better for me
here.
because we don't have that many options in Maryland. So when I come here, I'm like, I could really enjoy myself. And I was like, yeah, we got to be here. And I think that will help him, I hope, with getting outside, because he doesn't do outdoors too much. You know, it's either in the gym or that's it. We have a tread at home. We have a bike at home. Like, you can do it in the house. And he just, I can't get him to do it. So hopefully when we move here, get him outside, walking, maybe a little bit of running. I don't know. We'll see.
You can make it fun. Go to the beach and walk the boardwalk for a while.
Yeah. And I want to do like trails. So we have a few trails in Maryland, but not much. But I see all the people doing hiking and in the mountains here.
Yeah, it's rough out here, hiking out here, because it's so mountainous and like
we
a
moved
lot
here
of
from
hills.
Virginia, from Alexandria, Virginia.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you know, and you know the winters are awful.
Yes, experienced that first storm
coming here. What year were you there?
Was it 2015 through 20?
Yeah, 2015.
Got here
to
2018.
Yeah,
we came here 2018. So we kind of.
Were you there during the big storm?
Yeah.
Snowmageddon.
We were
you were there.
We were in DC.
Yep. Yes.
We were
So yes.
Yeah.
That was something he wasn't there. He hurt. He had come. You came right after?
It was 2013 when I got there, but we had a big snowstorm the first
That
year I
was
was
it.
there, and we almost broke up. I was like,
And I didn't know what like seasonal depression and all that. I had heard about it. I didn't know it was a thing until I met him, and he came to Maryland, and we had a snowstorm, and it was unbearable to live with him.
Playing my cello as far as in
Yeah.
DC or in the DMV.
no, it was
the depression part.
That particular day, I remember, and I've never had issues with depression or anything like that. I remember because I had my car parked out in front of the house, and I remember looking out the window, seeing my car, and we knew the storm was coming. I literally looked outside an hour later, my car was gone. Like, it was covered in snow. You couldn't see anything. And I looked out the window, and I was like, oh, yeah, I'm getting the hell out of here. Like, I couldn't.
He was grumpy. He didn't want to talk to me. Like, I called my mother. I was like, what the hell is wrong with him? And she was like, what's going on? I told him, she was like, he's not used to this. Like, you got to give him some grace. He's not used to this, the cold, for one. It's freezing. Then the snow. Then you can't get around. You're snowed in. Like, he felt trapped because he couldn't get out. And that's when I knew, I was like, this is a real life thing, because he can't handle it. He's gotten better over the years.
But we haven't had any real terrible snowstorms either.
Right.
It's been a long
But the
years since
cold,
it's got like.
He's like,
Yeah, I mean the cold it's like okay, I can kind of deal with it, but that snow was too much for me.
I mean, I asked her just yesterday on the podcast, when did she think I was depressed, if I was ever depressed since we, and that
It was
was
there.
when,
It was, DMV.
before I started playing my cello.
Yeah.
DMV, so.
No sir.
And it's like I said, the weather, was something about the cloudiness when
Yes.
I first got there. It was
Yeah,
just
it's a lot of
cloudy.
clouds
dreary.
in that area, and
And the
I like
energy
my
is
son.
different. The energy is different there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially,
it
but
is.
here you're gonna, as you see, we don't have any elevators. At
And
least
that's
they
the
don't
thing.
they don't
Like,
fix the elevators.
I'm from California. I was born and raised in California. It was just like, but I had when I left here in '97, I had no intentions on ever moving back to California. Like, I was good, so I jumped all over the place. When I left California, the first time I lived in Atlanta for 2 years, and my mother was always on me about going to college. She's like, Michael, you got to go to school. I was smart enough to know early on that if I went to school in Atlanta, I was not going to get anything accomplished, because when I tell you Atlanta had a hold on a young Michael, it was strip clubs and partying, and I was just like,
Atlanta.
It was Atlanta. Yeah, so I was
we
just
lived
like,
there as well.
yeah, I was like, now if I stay here, I'm not going to get anything accomplished. So I ended up going back to California for a little while, and I was like, look, I knew I wanted to go to a HBCU. I always wanted to go to a HBCU. So I was just like, I just remember filling out college applications. I was just like, the first HBCU to get back to me, that's where I'm going. And Jackson State was it. So I ended up going to Jackson State.
State.
Yep, JSU Tiger. So I ended up going there and finished school, left there. I was also married before too. So I was in Mississippi 13 years.
And it's funny to reflect back to us meeting. We met at Iron Wars. I saw this lovely couple sitting there, and I just took a picture.
Yeah.
And now we're here. He went to Jackson State. I'm from Jackson.
Oh, wow.
I went to Jackson State as well for 3 years. I didn't complete, but that's how small the world
Yeah,
is.
It really is.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It really is. So yeah, but it's been a journey, man. So I left Arkansas when I got divorced the first time. I left there. I left Mississippi when I got divorced and went to Little Rock, and I was there for a couple of years, and then met her and left Little Rock and came to the DMV. Been there ever since, and now she's always wanted to come to California. And I was just like, I was the one kind of against it. I was like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to go back to California. But you know, after her dad passed, it was kind of opened up that door. I don't think she would have ever left while he was, still alive. So when he passed, and then my parents are still here, so they're getting a little older. And it's just like, okay, well, maybe this is the right time. And then, and our kids are about grown. Well, all of them are grown except for the youngest one. So it's just like, okay, maybe this is the right time. And it's something about, I don't know if it's just because I'm older now, but when I come out here, I get so inspired to do other things. It's just like something about being back here. Just like, okay,
Make you
this
feel
is definitely,
young.
this is definitely, and I wouldn't say young, but it definitely makes me feel inspired. So it's just like, like I said, the chance meeting with CT, and like I said, all the doors that it's open, especially kind of with us being on this fitness journey, is like, okay, this is definitely the right time. So yeah, that's what's bringing us back here, and hopefully it'll turn into something even bigger and more amazing as we go along.
Well, I could definitely say that I appreciate the energy that you guys bring. I am happy to hear that you're coming to California.
Yeah, definitely.
I know that you're just visiting now, and we're not going to take up all of your time today, even though we got a whole lot more to talk about.
Oh, we'll
'Cause
definitely
didn't
do
even-
around two.
We didn't even, get into the Jackson part that well. That's a whole nother
It
conversation.
ain't much to talk about with Jackson.
I don't know. Well, even just what's going on today from where it was when you were there and even now, But I'm really looking forward to having you guys in California.
Yeah,
I definitely we got to have you guys on the podcast. I would like to put together something, even a little bit more in the future.
Oh,
As
yeah,
far as this,
definitely.
we're mobile, basically.
Okay.
So yeah, we can, if we had even just an idea of more people, and we can move around on the mic, that's fine. Just
awesome.
conversation, and
Oh, yeah.
we need to educate some of these youth. Like I said, I drive rideshare, so it needs some guidance out there on understanding what it takes to get to.
Yeah, but
a
what
loving
I'm
point.
realizing about especially the younger generation, these times are, and we talk about this all the time, where we try to put ourselves in the shoes of these kids now, just like the world is so different. And
But they want it. They want the same. They want it.
yeah,
They
but
don't know.
it's just,
They don't know how to
and-
get.
Yeah.
To
And I don't know if it's social media or what it is that has told. We always say, like, I'm so glad we didn't have social media when I was a kid. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just these phones and everything. Like, my mother, it drives my mother insane. She came to visit us for Thanksgiving a few years ago, and she was just watching the girls on their phone, and she was like, I could not raise kids nowadays. She was,
hard,
because for them, it's just like, to have a kid that has everything, all this information at the tip of their fingers, like, drives my mother insane. She was like, I felt like I had to shelter you from everything. She's like, but these kids aren't really being sheltered from anything. She's like, anything they want to see, hear, know, it's all right there on their phone. And it, like, is mind blowing to her with that. And I was like,
And what's the scariest thing now is because some of it is really more just orchestrated.
Yep.
to-
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a programming to a certain degree. And that's the biggest risk of
We talked
a
about
lot
that
of
with
it.
TikTok. I was watching a video, or I think it was a news segment, and they were saying how the algorithms are different here in America when it comes to social media and the stuff that these kids see compared to a place like China or Japan. If you go to TikTok over there, everything that they see on their news feed is mainly educational stuff, science projects, but a lot of the stuff that our kids are seeing here is all foolishness and
goofy stuff,
fighting and you know, and all of this stuff. And I'm just like,
and
so it's really trying to get these kids to understand that what they're seeing on social media is not real.
Yeah,
like it is.
And that's another thing. They see relationships on social media and think that that's real. Like that and they're not getting that. A lot of these folks are showing you what they want you to see, not what's really going on. So, you know, comparing themselves and then comparing their relationships to what is possibly not real, you know, it's just a whole nother layer of issues when it comes to, you know, trying to be in a relationship nowadays.
Yeah. And that's why it's important for people like us to talk about our relationship and to talk about the bad stuff and the good stuff, just because I feel like nowadays the younger generation, they don't know like relationships or marriages, they take work.
Yes.
So anytime something goes bad, they're like, all right, let me, you know, duck out or whatever.
And especially when you see, you know, oh my gosh, I want that $5 million wedding because I saw this on Instagram and I want to put this together and do it. And that's what they're thinking about. And they're not thinking about the work that goes into after that. Yeah. After that, you sign that check on that bill for the wedding, you really got to put in some work. Like it's not going to be a Instagram relationship.
And you're
and
going to go through tough times.
We were a little hesitant early on to kind of talk about the bad stuff that happened in our marriage, but it was so, when it started to become such a thing where it was relatable and people were just like, you know, hell, we kind of dealing with the same thing too. And to kind of be open about it was like, okay, this is kind of like the right avenue, because we never tried to paint this picture like, you know, our relationship was the best ever. Because like I said, we have our ups and downs just like anybody else. And I felt it was very important to not only talk about the good, but also talk about the bad. And it was kind of like an outlet early on for us. Because, I mean, we've done many shows where she was not happy with me. And not happy with me at all, or vice versa, whatever the case is. And she's one of those people, when she's mad at you, like, she'll just shut down. Like, it's just, it's, but it made for interesting conversations, though. And it was just like, okay, you know, I wanted people, even not only with our relationship, but also our weight loss journey. Yeah. So many people that had weight loss surgery don't tell people they had weight loss, and that drives her insane, because she still has like a lot of the women that she followed that did the plus size modeling, and you know, they try to act like they didn't have weight loss surgery and all of this stuff. It was like, no, we felt like that was important to be totally honest about how we started our health journey, and not try to act like, oh, we took this magic pill and we lost 200 some odd pounds. Like, no, we had weight loss surgery. This is why we did it, and try to be as transparent as we can with that journey, because you never know who's going to follow that journey. It's always amazing. And, you know, I know she has women that hit her up, but men that either DM me or reach out and they're just like, I got a cousin that had weight loss surgery. We knew she had weight loss, but she never told anybody she had weight loss surgery. Not till like a year or so ago, I remember she sent me this long DM and she was like, cousin, I really got to tell you, like, you really helped me come out of my shell. I didn't want anybody to know I had weight loss surgery, even though we kind of figured. But it was like I didn't want the public to know that I had the surgery, because I was scared of what people were going to say about it. And I'm like, why would you even care?
Yeah. Right. Wow.
Why? But again, it was just, you know, it was, to her, it was something that was looked at negative, and she was like, you know, I didn't want people to judge me. I'm like, you did what you had to do for you, and that was the best decision you made. And she's the healthiest. She looks amazing, as healthiest she's ever been. I was like, I was never going to try to shy away from the fact that I had weight loss surgery. Like, it was just that thing, and I knew I had to be upfront about it, because first of all, nobody was going to believe, and like she said, my weight came off really fast. I said, nobody's going to believe. They're going to think I'm smoking crack is what they're going to think I'm doing. So it was just like, nobody was ever going to believe I was dropping weight that fast, and I was just doing it because I wasn't eating this or that anymore. It's like, no. But to see how many people that it has helped and, you know, kind of inspired to, you know, be, not only get the weight loss surgery, but not shy away from the fact that they had it, it's been interesting.
I think for us, you know, I just wanted people to know it's an option. It may not be for everybody. It's drastic. It's hard. It's not a magic anything. You know, the first 8 weeks after I had surgery, I spent throwing up. Like, it was hard. It was awful, but I felt like I had to do it because I needed to save my life. You know, I had little kids and I had to do it for me. And like he said, it bothers me when I see people who I know have done other things to lose weight that are now on Instagram saying, oh, wear this wrap and drink this tea and you'll lose 200 pounds. And you have especially young girls that are wasting their money and paying these influencers to buy all this stuff, and it's not happening. And then you see them posting, oh, I'm not losing weight, I'm so depressed, I'm this and that, I'm that, and they're seeing things that are not real. That just drives me insane. And I've always been open about the journey. It has definitely not been easy. Once I lost the weight, I had a ton of loose skin that I couldn't do anything with. No strength training, no nothing was going to help. I've had skin removal surgery. I have scars. I have all of it. And this was just a path that I needed to take. And if, someone else feels that they need to take that journey, I'm happy to help. If they don't, I'm still happy to help. We had a sweet spot of 1 year after having surgery, and it's been work. I work out 7 days a week. Like, I watch what I eat. It is definitely not a magic
to the point
pill.
where I have to tell her she doesn't know what a rest day is. I'm like, you need to sit down and do nothing. Yeah. Like, I literally have to force her to just relax and rest.
But it's hard work, just like any other weight loss journey. However anybody decides to do it, you got to put in the work. And I can't take it when people are like, oh, take this pill and put this waist trainer on and you'll be good. It's like, no, don't lie to the folks. And that, that's what these kids are seeing as far as that and relationships and, making money. They think it's all going to be quick and easy, and it's not. And I think that that's one of the things about this generation is that, we grew up in a time where it was, you got to put in the work. Yeah. Whatever it is. If you're going to be an Instagram influencer, you got to put in the work to do it. It's not going to be handed to you. So, that's what we hope that we are able to show the younger generation, that whatever you're going to do, you got to put in the work.
Yep. Yeah. It's definitely inspiring. It inspires me. Even just like I said, I love seeing another happy couple, especially a happy couple of color as well. So having this podcast, even you guys having a podcast, like I said, it inspires me. I know it inspires her as well. And I'm the last one I feel like is really making the effort towards my goal. And the thing with me, once I start, I see mine because I'm coming from nothing. Weeks. So I see it immediately. That's why, my discipline, I got to get my discipline together. And of course, time don't stop. So age is there. So
that was the thing for me. One of the things that, CT would, one of the things I always remember that he would say is you got to be addicted to this. You got to want it all the time. And it wasn't until I started seeing my body kind of transform. I was like, ooh, I got a muscle here. It was just that's when it really started to become addicting. And it was just like, oh snap, I got to keep going and keep going and keep going. And so when I felt when I had the heart issue and it was they told me I couldn't lift anymore, I felt like they took my world from me. It was just what am I going to do now? And I was literally super depressed. And so for him to kind of step in and help me get back on that journey and keep going, he was just like, you ain't dead, so you going to keep training. We just going to tweak it a little bit that you can work with it. I was like, cool. And so it really does, once you get going and you start really seeing your body kind of shape and form into this vision that you have for it, it's this is addicting, and it is very addicting.
And I think it's important for people to realize, as you do get older, you got to think about stuff like your mobility.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to be hunched over. I don't want to be in a wheelchair if I can help it. I want to be able, my dad was 65 years old and couldn't walk. I need to be better than that. My grandmother had diabetes and lost her eyesight. Those are things that we can help.
Yeah,
you can't help if you get ill or you're in an accident or whatever. But if it's your diet and you've got diabetes and you can reverse that, yes, let's do it. If you can lift some weights so you can walk down the street or go to the mailbox when you're 80, that's where I want to be. I don't want to be stuck in a wheelchair with a walker.
There was a guy at Iron Wars. Was he 70?
He said he'd be 70.
70. Mm-hmm. He was there last year. Giving them young boys a run for their money on that bench press. And I was just when you look at him, you wouldn't think he was that old.
He looks like he's in his 50s.
Yeah. The brother's amazing. Now, he didn't lift this year. He was just there. He had one of his guys that he's trains that was there. But I'm sitting there watching this guy. I'm like, he's 70 years old. swole. Like, and like I said, I remember him from last year. It was just like, I'm very bad about saying how old I am and I feel old and all of that stuff. But it's like age is really a number. Like this, it is. Long as you give your body the nutrition it needs and work. Like just because you're getting older doesn't mean that you can't do certain things anymore. So that's something that I'm really learning as well. We got the videos where we started going to a chiropractor and to watch him, listen to him pop me and crack me all around. He told me, he took the scan of my body. He was like, you built like a grandfather. Like when I tell you my body was all, but it was from years of having all that weight on me too that threw my body all out of whack. So, I mean, I'm probably the most flat-footed person in the world. I got the flattest feet ever, but I got one shoulder that's shorter than the other. I got one leg shorter than the other. And for him to just crack my neck was like, whoa, like it was like instant relief. Like I was like, oh my God, like my body had been so compressed carrying all that weight around. It was just like, and again, this is where that's where she gets on me too about stretching and stuff like that before I work out, because I don't do any of that stuff. So it's just like, she's like, Michael, you got to take care of your body. You got to start doing yoga. You got to start doing this.
Yeah, because I'm like, we're going to the chiropractor, but it's a waste if you're not going to go home and stretch every day or do something to keep it going, because we're just throwing money at him because he's just going to crack you this week and you'll be hunched over next week. So you got to keep it going. And that's where I'm at this point is I just want to be mobile. I was at home. Was born in Nashville. And so I went with my mom and, to see her sisters a few weeks ago, and they were all talking, they're all in their 60s and they're talking about this pill for this, and then this knee hurts and this back. And I was just like, And I started talking to them. I was like, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to start doing these things for you all to start getting your mobility better, because I do not want to be sitting around at 60-something years old comparing pill bottles. And I'm sitting there, I said, when did this happen? And they were like, well, this is what happens when you get old. And I refuse to believe that that has to be. It can't. There's got to be a better way. Like, I do not want to be sitting around looking at little orange bottles talking about, I'm using this for my knee, this for my ankle. I don't want to do that.
Well, before we get ready to close it out, let the audience know where they can find Something in Common podcast.
Do your job, boss.
So we are on all social media as Something in Common. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, SOMETHIN, no G, Something in Common. And
Instagram is something_in_common.
Yep. And then we're on iHeartRadio? Stitcher,
Google Play, iTunes. Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
Okay. And we'd like to say again, congratulations to the champ.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it.
I am going to regret this decision. No lie. Like, she has not. Every time, address me as the champ. Like, but I tell her, especially when CT made that post today, I was just like, and I told her, I'm like, you gotta keep that crown. So now you gotta go back every year till somebody beat you. Yeah. So I was like, now, because they do 2 events for the women. It's the 135 rep off, and then they do have a max lift. So I said, to get the overall crown next year, she got to do the max lift too. So she'll be training for that one. And she has a transformation competition she's training for in April. So yeah, she's doing a lot. And again, my job will be to document and picture all of this stuff. So I'm just riding the coattails of the boss over
the cameraman.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the goal max for next year will be 225 pounds. So we'll see.
Okay.
Yep. That'll be it.
Definitely.
So,
thank y'all.
Like I said, before closing out, I'd like to say thank you again to CT Fletcher.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
For all the inspiration from, that you've done, that you've inspired us with the power of that pull.
I mean, I still to this day have to watch like his videos, they just get me pumped up.
Yeah.
It's just, to have that personal relationship, but, he, at this point, he has to turn that on and off now. He has to, and me and Samson have become really close. I'm super inspired by Samson, and and Samson, his personality is not like his father's.
Yeah,
he's
really
more kind of laid back and
nice.
chill. But to watch that boy lift is like,
he's a monster.
like he was at the expo today. He was just, I'm still in awe of him when I watch him. I'm just like, what the hell? Like,
he's like in jeans and a sweatshirt. He's like 405. Put the 405 on the bench. Like, you're in jeans and a sweatshirt and you just telling them 405? Like, what? Yeah. I used to weigh that.
Monster mode.
And CT will tell you, like, he said Samson is way stronger than I was at 27. He'll tell you that in a minute. But the boy works out all day long. And I'll text him like,
when do you sleep?
All day, every day.
It's so funny to see him and CT interact. So we'll be over at CT's house and Samson will be in the backyard working out and he'll look out the window. Like, boy, sit your ass down somewhere. Because he just goes and goes and goes. Like I don't know. That boy's brain operates totally different. And I'm just like, yeah, this dude is amazing. So he's going to be.
It's definitely a bloodline.
But I tell CT all the time, I'm like, that Iron Addict's legacy is in good hands.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like Samson is going to take, and I talked to him about that when I interviewed him a few months ago. I'm like, he has ideas of where he wants the brand to go. As he officially starts to take over. So I tell him all the time, not only between Samson, but his grandkids. Like his grandson lives, his two grandsons live.
Yeah.
I'm like,
they're getting up there fast too.
Oh man,
Jeez,
Chris is a monster, man.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. To watch that boy live, watch him deadlift. He's deadlifting over 400 pounds now.
Right.
I'm like,
man,
he's like 14.
He's like 14. I'm like, what the hell?
Man,
So yeah, I tell TT, I said, Iron Addicts is in good hands. I said, so, when the time comes, when it's totally time to pass the torch, I got no doubts in my mind that the Iron Addicts legacy is going to live on for a very, very long time. So,
and I look forward to try to get in there next year as far as to do some photography stuff.
Yeah, come photograph the champ.
And most of our audience definitely know where they can reach us or just the audience in general.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. You can find us at AmericanGypsy.com.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kimberly, Nicole, and Michael.
Thank
again.
you.
It's appreciated, man. It's been an honor. We enjoyed this, man. So
definitely.
It's good to be interviewed and not always do the interview.
Yeah. We feel the same sometimes, too, as podcasters. Like, it's nice when other people ask us questions, right?
Definitely.
So,
But
thank you.
Again, AmericanGypsy.com.
And then you can also find consistent self-improvement merch on luamlee.com. And also all the information should also link from AmericanGypsy.com.
And we also have music you can find under Classic, KLACCIK, CARPENTA, on all major platforms.
And we have crystals that we dig up and create jewelry out of and sell on Etsy. So if you're interested in that, Bearite crystals, book a Bearite on Etsy or bookabearite.com.
Thank you again for tuning in.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Happy New Year again.
Happy New Year.
Consistent self-improvement. Peace.
Peace.